Howdy, folks. Welcome to Tweetsie Railroad. In just a minute, we'll be heading out into the Wild West. This country is still pretty rowdy, so be sure to keep your arms and head inside the cars at all times. Before we get started, I'd like to remind you to stay seated while the train is moving, and know that smoking is not allowed on the Tweetsie train, except, of course, for the engine. That's a genuine coal-burning steam locomotive pulling this train, and if your head's hanging out, you might get a painful finger in your eye. So stay in your seat, enjoy yourself, and take a look around. Maybe you'll decide to come out here and stake your claim on the wild frontier. There's lots to see around these parts, so get set. We'll be pulling out of the station right away.
Howdy, folks. Hope you're all comfortable in your seats, because we're about to take a ride on the famous Tweetsie Railroad. Before we get started, I just want to remind you to stay in your seats while the train is moving, and be sure to keep your arms and head inside the train cars at all times. You never know when a desperado or a tree limb might just sneak up on you. We want you all to be safe and have fun riding the Tweetsie Railroad. Also know that smoking is not allowed on the train, except, of course, for the engine. Today, our train is being pulled by engine number 190, the Yukon Queen. She's a real coal-burning steam locomotive, but if you're not careful, you might just get a painful cinder in your eye. This might be a good time to put on some shaved steaks just in case. If you don't have any, you can buy a pair at the general store right over there on Main Street. If during the ride you should happen to get one of them cinders in your eye, the good folks at the first aid station will be happy to get it out for you. So sit tight, folks. Our train will be leaving the station in just a few minutes. Well, folks, looks like we've got some action to look forward to, so be sure to stay in your seats. The train is getting ready to move out real soon. Riding the train with you today are the Tweetsie Cowboys. They're going to introduce themselves to you and tell you anything additional you might need to know. They're pretty friendly for the most part, but later on you might find they have other plans. So be a little wary.
Be safe and have fun riding the Tweetsie Railroad. Also know that smoking is not allowed on the train, except, of course, for the engine. Our train will be leaving the station in just a few minutes, so be sure to stay in your seat. Riding the train with you today are the Tweetsie Cowboys and Cowgirls. They're going to introduce themselves to you and tell you anything additional you might need to know. They're pretty friendly for the most part, but later on you might find they have other plans, so be a little wary.
The Tweetsie Railroad. My name is Zeke Sidewinder. I've been a cowboy here at Tweetsie since 2001. Pulling our train today is locomotive number 190, Yukon Queen. She's a real coal-burning steam locomotive, so if you're not careful, you might just get a painful cinder in your eye. This might be a good time to put on some shaded specs, just in case. If you don't have any, you can buy a pair at the general store, right over there on Main Street. If during the ride you should happen to get one of them cinders in your eye, the good folks at the first aid station will be happy to help get it out for you. Engine 190, or the Yukon Queen, was built in 1943 by the Baldwin Locomotive Works of Philadelphia for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. She served in Alaska on the White Pass and Yukon Railroad during World War II. Number 190 was brought here 50 years ago in 1960 to serve alongside our locomotive number 12, the original Tweetsie engine. Tweetsie used to run on the ET and WNC. That's the East Tennessee and Western North Carolina Railway between Johnson City, Tennessee and Boone. Folks back then used to joke that ET and WNC stood for Eat Taters and Wear No Clothes. Both of our locomotives are coal-fired. Each day they'll burn 3 to 5 tons of coal and use up to 5,000 gallons of water, making steam to pull us around the mountain. We're so glad you're here today, and we hope you enjoy your ride on the Tweetsie Railroad. What? Shut up! 2, 1. Get started. I just want to remind you to stay in your seats while the train is moving. And be sure to keep your arms and head inside the train car at all times. You never know when a desperado or tree limb might just sneak up on you. We want you all to be safe and have fun riding the Tweetsie Railroad. Also, know that smoking is not allowed on the train, except of course for the engine. Our train will be leaving the station in just a few minutes, so be sure to stay in your seats. Riding the train with you today are the Tweetsie cowboys and cowgirls. They're going to introduce themselves to you, tell you any additional things you might need to know. They're pretty friendly for the most part, but later on you might find they may have other plans, so be a little wary.